Ever had a random thought pop into your head which can be disturbing? Well, this is called an intrusive thought. Everybody has these, but for people with OCD, these thoughts can stick around and dominate daily life. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about intrusive thoughts and how they correlate with OCD. Everyone has intrusive thoughts, and these could be about anything. You probably wonder, where did these thoughts even come from? Why am I thinking of these things? With people with OCD, these thoughts don't just pass by. They can stick around for days and days on end. It can be a really challenging thing to deal with them. My name's Dave. This channel, it revolves around OCD and my experience with it, and I try and share tips and tricks of how you can deal with your OCD as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about intrusive thoughts then, and the definition. Intrusive thought is a thought that just pops into your head. These thoughts can be to do with anything from irrational fears to made up scenarios. And then when you have these thoughts, and because they're sticking around, it amplifies your OCD, and you end up doing a lot more of your routines and rituals in your head to try and mitigate the anxiety that you feel from them. So intrusive thoughts are unwanted and distressing thoughts. They can pop up any time of the day. You could be sitting on a bus, you could be at work, you'll have a thought pop in your head and go, wow, where did that even come from? Because why would my brain even think about that? This is completely normal. Everybody has these thoughts. A lot of my intrusive thoughts come from things like made up scenarios. One thought will pop up into my head. This can be good or bad, and then my brain will then make me do these rituals and routines that I do anyway to try and make sure this thing happens or doesn't happen. A little bit like what I spoke about in the Magical Thinking OCD video. Check that out if you haven't. There's some good talking points in there about Magical Thinking OCD and how to deal with it. And if that's something you suffer with, then I hope that video will help you a little bit. Although they are normal, people with OCD will then use these thoughts to fuel the obsessive behavior. And obviously you don't want that. You don't want to be having another reason to do these rituals and these routines that are stressing you out and draining you. A lot of people don't like to share things like that. I'm someone that doesn't really like to share things like that because they can be anything. I could be standing up somewhere high and my brain will just be like, jump. Everyone has that thought, and that is a completely normal response. There's a word for it. I'll try and put a definition for what that is somewhere on the screen about what that feeling is, because everybody gets that. But when you have OCD, these things do stick around. So most people will get that feeling of like, oh, jump, or do this, do that, and they'll shrug it off and go, no, obviously not. With OCD, it just keeps going and going and going around your head over and over again, to the point where you start to think, should I? Or you start to think, oh my God, how am I going to get this thought to leave my head? And then you start doing your patterns and your routines. And if you've got like counting OCD, you'll start counting numbers through your scale, whatever it may be, trying to alleviate the anxiety you're feeling from these thoughts. For someone with OCD, these thoughts can feel like threats. I'm trying to think of examples. If we're driving along in my car and I could have an irrational thought of like, what if my wheel just popped off now? What would happen? And then that scenario will play in my head loads of times and it will feel like a threat. I'll just be thinking the entire time then, after I've had that thought, how can I stop myself from thinking about this, but also make sure that this doesn't happen? And then people will shrug that off and they won't think about it again, or it might play on their mind for a couple of seconds and they'll turn the radio on and they'll forget about it. Now me, with OCD, I have to turn the radio down and think about it in my head, and then try and play out a scenario where that doesn't happen. So if I'm imagining my car going down the road and the wheel just pops off and the car rolls and everything happens in a fiery blaze, I have to make that in my head not happen. I have to replay that scenario in my head so the car goes smoothly to the destination I want it to get to. Does this actually change anything? No, it doesn't. But because of OCD, I genuinely believe that it does. And I know most people with OCD probably also believe that it does. I'm using this channel to try and end the stigma around OCD as well. I'm trying to show that these thoughts and these issues are normal and should be normalized, and there's a lot that people can learn about it. There's lots of different kinds of OCD, and irrational thoughts plays a big part in a lot of them. Some of these types of OCD that it affects are contamination OCD. That is a type of OCD in which people are very particular about what they do because of germs. There's a very well-known director called Howie Mandel, and he suffers from contamination OCD. Because of that, he doesn't handshake anybody. There have been several red carpet events and award ceremonies where people have gone to give him a handshake and he refuses, and that is because he suffers from contamination OCD. Irrational thoughts can go along with that as well. He could be having irrational thoughts of, if I touch this person, I'm going to get ill, or this illness is going to happen, or this is going to spread, or it's going to ruin his whole day, his week, whatever it may be. And that's probably what people think about with contamination OCD when it comes to irrational thoughts. I don't suffer with contamination OCD, so I can't talk too much on the topic of that. It's not the type of OCD I suffer with. Germs, dirt, stuff like that has never really bothered me. Intrusive thoughts can cause a lot of things with OCD, one of the things being avoidance. So you may avoid certain people or places or hobbies or anything, to be honest. It can be anything. There's a wide spectrum of things it could be that you do avoid because of these irrational thoughts. Like a whole video on avoidance, but I play guitar, But because of my OCD and the patterns and the rituals that I have to follow in my daily life, of course, once I started playing guitar more regularly, these rituals and these routines spread over to that hobby. And because of that, every time I pick up my guitar, it feels like a chore. I find myself having to do these routines and these patterns every time I pick it up or put it down, whether it be a certain type of riff or a certain sound I want the guitar to make. And if I don't, then I don't feel right. And if I leave any of the clips in here of me doing my routines, I tend to cut a lot of them out, but because, well, to be honest, it'd be a very long video if I left them in. When I'm having these irrational thoughts, one of the things I do the most is I can't speak. If I'm having thoughts pop into my head and I'm having to fix these thoughts in my head and organize them and sort them out, then I find it difficult to speak. Sorry, there's a weird beeping going on. I think that's the Alexa or something. When I'm having these thoughts and I'm having to organize them, it sometimes makes it difficult for me to speak. I'll find myself taking really long pauses in conversations, and I don't know if people realise or notice that I do it. I'm assuming that they do. I'll be talking and then I'll randomly pause and I might look in another direction and I might make a certain face or roll my eyes a certain way, but it's because I'm organising things in my brain. And because of that, I leave these long awkward pauses when I'm speaking sometimes, and that again is caused because of thoughts randomly popping up into my head. And that is caused by, obviously, OCD. The dog really, really wants me to play with his ball. Go! I'm in a bit of a different filming location today. Usually I'm in my very red bedroom. Now I'm sitting in this lovely new chair. We have two of them in Karis's conservatory with lots of nice plants around. It's very nice, very scenic. Probably a lot more calming than my regular background in videos. Sometimes when I'm sitting here talking about my OCD, my mind goes blank. And I'm not sure if that's a side effect of my OCD. I'll be sitting here and I've got lots of thoughts going around in my head and I have to take really long pauses and I go off on a tangent and it becomes quite difficult to remember what I was talking about. So I think that's quite relevant to this video because obviously talking about intrusive thoughts, I'm getting a lot of them just sitting here. It's making it quite difficult to film. Because of that, I think it's good for me just to talk. I'm talking. Oh, God. This is the reality of OCD. I'm currently sitting here having a bit of a breakdown because my mind's gone completely blank and I'm just sitting here doing the same routines over and over again. Oh, it's so mentally taxing. I'm good at blocking it out for the majority of the day and then I start filming and it's just constant. I feel tired.
You don't want to script it because it's so unnatural.
To be, truth and the actual real side of OCD. I don't want to write things beforehand and then have it be like, oh yeah, this, that, and make it seem like it's a glamorized thing at all, or that it's an easy thing to deal with, because it really isn't. I enjoy filming the OCD videos, but they are very mentally taxing. I would like to branch this channel out to a lot more of my hobbies as well. I'm looking forward to filming at car shows again when we start going to them and using my new gimbal and stuff to get some really cool cinematic shots and making some cool edits. I'd also really like just to film some regular vlogs. I mean, life might seem boring, but I think it's good to show it. I think it's good to show realistic life. I'd like to make some videos around the gym and film some vlogs with that as well. And
that's a happy place, isn't
yeah, because these are all things that genuinely do help my OCD, so it still correlates with OCD, but it's really good for me to film other things as well, because videos like this are just, yeah, they're very mentally taxing.
Right.
Karis just gave me a roast potato.
Taylor, you're not having the potato.
So this video's probably been all over the place. I've tried to talk about intrusive thoughts, and then intrusive thoughts have gotten in my own head, and because of that, it's making it very difficult to film this. But I think that shows the reality of OCD. It doesn't always go to plan. I had a video idea, I thought I had some really good points about it, and instead all I've done is become overwhelmed with my OCD. But I think that's a good thing to share, to be honest, because that is the reality of it. And if you are suffering from it, you're not alone. And there is help out there. Like I mentioned in my previous videos, CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, is a really good method for helping your OCD. And so is ERP, which again is exposure therapy. And that is also another really good method of helping your OCD. And this for me has been some serious exposure therapy trying to make this video today. I never really think about how bad random thoughts just popping into your head sporadically can be until you sit down and you're trying to film a video and you're trying to keep your mind clear. This has been a good session of exposure therapy for me, for sure. I'm not sure what the next video is going to be about, whether it'll be about hobbies, and I might take you on a little journey to the gym and I might vlog a little bit about that. I've got some topics wrote down that I do want to talk about and make some good videos on, and some actual informative videos on. But I suppose this is a bit like an update as well. I haven't made a video in the past nearly 2 weeks. Life's a little bit hectic at the minute. Karis has got a job down near me, so she's moved into my house at the minute, so we're like very crammed in my bedroom and we're still trying to film videos, and it's a little bit stressful, but it's not too bad. We've secured our place where we're going to be living. We're just waiting for all that to go through so we can get the keys and get moved in and then sort our little setup area out so we can start filming normally again. That's all in motion as well. And then on top of that, you have like a full-time job as well. I'm a welder. I'm about to change my position in that job as well to do more work on top of that. So right now I'm just welding, but I'm going to be going into assembly and making conveyor belts and learning how to drill and bolt things together and all sorts of fun stuff. So there's a lot going on in my head at the minute, to be honest. I've got some good topics wrote down though. I want to talk about hobbies and how they helped my OCD. I want to talk about avoidance with OCD. I also want to make a video answering some of Google's most asked questions about OCD, because I feel like as someone that's dealt with it their entire life, I've got some good insight into it and I might be able to answer some of them, and that might be a good topic. I also want to make a video with Karis where we talk about my OCD and what she thought about it at the beginning compared to, you know, what she knows about it now, just in case you're wanting to share with other people but you don't feel comfortable doing it yet. I want to show you that it's okay to. I think my next video might be about mental fitness, because we want to talk, I'll talk about physical fitness and the gym quite a bit and how I want to make videos with that, but I want to talk about mental fitness as well, because I think mental fitness is just as important as physical fitness, and especially with OCD, keeping your mental fit and healthy is just as important as keeping your body fit and healthy as well. Thank you for joining me for this very probably all over the place video, but to be honest, I think it's good sometimes to make videos like this that are a bit all over the place, because this is a very good I think it's good to film videos like this though, because this is a great example of what it's like inside of my head. Thanks for watching.